This was a quote. Elliot Clough of Rivals quoting Kirk Ferentz after the game. Kirk was quoted as saying, he's working his way back. He's still trying to get back in game shape. End quote. Wouldn't that be a concerning, Don, you've got a little bit of a confused look on your face. That's a concerning thing to hear from your head coach right now. That's not what we want to hear after 2 games.
Right.
That's not what we want to hear at all. And if he's still trying to get back in game shape, then why is he not starting over Brendan Sullivan, who, again, everybody that I talked to, you saw multiple practices. I saw one practice. Again, sources from inside the program reported the same thing. Other people reported it. The quarterback battle was very close. You could almost call it a coin toss. If Cade is, quote, still working his way back, why is he playing? Why is he playing when you have a guy who has proven to be an adequate Big Ten starter behind him? I don't understand that at all. And I hope that's going to be evaluated this week. Because, by the way, let me just say this. Cade, this is easy for me to say today, but Don, you and I both know, we had conversations off the air. I wasn't impressed with Cade last week. He was good at times, but he also got lucky a couple of times. He threw the ball off his back foot. And by the way, let's talk a little bit about Cade McNamara underthrowing receivers. That's becoming a chronic problem 2 weeks into the season. He's done this, I'd say, at least 5 or 6 times so far. We've had incomplete passes down the field, not due to the fault of a receiver or a big play by a defender, but because Cade McNamara is underthrowing habitually. Okay? We've seen Iowa quarterbacks like Nate Stanley, Spencer Petras, Deacon Hill overthrowing receivers consistently. Cade is underthrowing receivers specifically. He had a pass down the field in the second half to Caleb Brown. Gary Danielson, Don, thought that play could have ended up as a touchdown if the pass was put on the money to Caleb Brown. Caleb Brown had an edge on the defender. Cade egregiously underthrows him. We go back a week ago, the underthrow to Luke Lachey in the end zone.
That play down the seam, I made this observation. If you go back and look at it, I don't know if it was 3-deep zone or man free, I'm not sure. But the bottom line, if you're going to throw the ball down a seam, you got to work the free safety. I don't care if it's zone or man. You got to work the free safety away from where you want to throw. That on that play, if I'm not mistaken, basically he dropped back and looked left the whole time, and the free safety got to the ball.
Yeah, but it was underthrown, Don.
Well, if it was
underthrown,
well, he still broke it up. My point is, you got to control him with your eyes, otherwise he might break it up.
I get that. But I'm saying if the pass had been put on the money, I don't think the free safety gets there either way.
So you're saying that Gill had to actually gear down a little bit for the ball?
Okay, maybe we're talking about 2 different plays. I'm talking about the throw down the field to Caleb Brown.
We were going north.
We were, they were going north.
It's the same play, I'm sure.
Yeah, that was to Caleb Brown, not Gill.
Oh, I'm sorry. Number 3, you're right. I'm sorry, I said Gill. No, we're talking about the same play. It was Brown, you're right.
Through the first 2 weeks, like last week was better, I think, with spreading the ball around. But do you think Cade was kind of locking on to Gill more? Like we saw a little bit of Andersey, but there was a lot of Gill. But I think like Caleb Brown, he was out there. Correct. I mean, it just seemed like he was locking on the guys a little early.
I typically, when I've watched like last week in the second half, Cade did a nice job going through his progressions, I thought. But again, different when you have he faced a lot more pressure in the pocket this week than he did last week. That goes without saying. But that's different, and I don't want to make excuses for Cade, but he has been away from football for a long time. And then, even before that, he had 4 games in a Hawkeye uniform. He goes down. It's a different animal, even the mental aspect of it and going through your progressions and dealing with pressure. This is the first real test he's had. I wouldn't call last week a test. I mean, there were moments in that first half where Illinois State did some things, and obviously it took them some time. But this was a test through and through. And I'd say he failed today. He's not the only one that failed, but I mean, he did not pass the test today. There were other people that didn't pass the test as well, but Cade was one of them that did not. And people were heaping praise on him last week. They were heaping praise on him. And what did I say after the game? I said, Yeah, he had some moments, but he also had some fortunate moments. Like when you're throwing off your back foot, falling down, and Reese Vandersey goes and plucks it, that's not credit to Cade McNamara. That's credit to a receiver going up and grabbing it, making a play. And not as fortunate today. And I thought his footwork was better in the first half, but he was erratic in the second when he did get an opportunity to throw. Don, how would you rate Cade McNamara's day overall?
Well, I haven't studied it, of course, but I'd have to say it's a concern. You know, the interception, that was to me, that was a poor decision. You know, he rolled right and set up and threw back left. Long throw. Pretty good coverage to begin with. Nice play for the interception. That was a good play on their part. But honestly, when you throw the ball back across the grain for that length, then there's a lot of things that can happen, and some of them are not good. Here's another one that was odd. Remember the deep throw to Gill that was broken up? If you go back and look, I'm just in the stadium watching the replay screen. It appears to me Cade never did do anything other than look left. And again, the free safety is the guy that broke the play up. If he'd have just done a better job with eye control and kept him away from the throw a little bit longer, he wouldn't have been there. So, you know, that's on Cade. Or you could argue that's on the coach rather than Cade. But, you know, coaches feel responsible when players don't do well, and so do players. And that's the way it should be. Should be a shared responsibility on the part of player and coach.
There was another opportunity down there where Cade McNamara missed a wide open Jacob Gill in the corner of the end zone. Did you notice that? They pointed that out on CBS, but on third down, second quarter, third down, Don, inside the 5, I think it was a throw to, was it Lachey in the end zone?
Oh, and Gill was back on the left side, right?
Jacob, and I'm not gonna use the terminology that Coach Fry would have used, but Jacob Gill was wide open.
Without that other word in between.
Keep that there. Wide open. And yeah. Cade never looked. And this is one of those games, Don, and we talk about the Cy-Hawk game. Always, you know, it always comes down to one or two plays, it seems like. But right. This really came down to one or two plays. And I say that because if they don't get that long completion to Jalen Knoll, they probably don't win. If they don't get the field goal from 54 yards, they don't win. If he hooks up, if Cade McNamara hooks up with Jacob Gill there, second quarter, wide open, if he just looks that direction, he's going to throw you could have made that throw, Don, in your 70s, and Iowa probably wins this game. If LaShawn Williams doesn't go out of bounds at the 3, get knocked down at the 3, I believe they win. Like, there's so many of those plays. I think I am concerned on a macro level because of the red zone inefficiency. And I think I'd be concerned even if Iowa had found a way to win. So,
you read the stats earlier, Corey, 13 of 19, 45% completion, 99 total yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 3 yards an attempt. I thought he decided pre-snap in the second half where the ball was going. And Coach, I would love to hear your thoughts on that. I thought there were 4 or 5 times that he had his mind made up before the play where the ball was going, and there were other guys that were better options, but it was predetermined where the ball was going. But just in, I love to look back through game logs. Less than 100 yards passing and at least 1 turnover has happened 4 times from Iowa's quarterbacks in the last 9 games, okay? And that doesn't include the Wisconsin game last year in which Iowa didn't even throw for 40 yards, but that game doesn't qualify in that metric because we didn't turn the ball over. The last time, for comparison, I know it's apples to oranges, but the last time that Iowa State had that happen, and the only time it's happened to them in the last decade, was a game that you remember. It was 2016 in a 42-3 loss against Iowa over 100 games ago. So, I mean, for anybody else, 100 yards, under 100 yards and a turnover or multiple turnovers is just a apocalyptic performance, and it's somehow for us become somewhat routine.